Is this truly just an ordinary reunion, or is there a hidden message deliberately being put on display for the world to see? Amid the ever-burning global spotlight on BTS, a seemingly simple set of photos has sparked a wave of speculation far greater than anyone could have anticipated. Why, in what should have been a relaxed and joyful moment, did public attention shift toward a detail that felt too consistent to ignore? And even more startling, could it be that Jungkook's closeness to Taehyung during this reunion was not merely coincidence, but an intentional signal meant for someone? It all began with two photos released almost simultaneously, each carrying a distinct yet equally mysterious atmosphere. The first captured all 7 BTS members: RM, Jin, Suga, J-Hope, Jimin, V, Taehyung, and Jungkook standing together in front of the iconic Brooklyn Bridge in New York City, a landmark that has long symbolized major milestones in their international journey. Yet instead of focusing solely on the scenic backdrop or their effortlessly stylish outfits, leather jackets, oversized jeans, and trendy chain accessories that reflect global streetwear identity, fans found themselves drawn to something far more subtle, yet undeniably meaningful. Among the 7 figures standing side by side, there was a pattern that proved difficult to overlook. Jungkook appeared to stand very close to Taehyung, not just in terms of physical distance, but in the way his body slightly leaned in the direction of his gaze that seemed to return again and again to the same point. Was this simply an old habit resurfacing after a long period of separation due to individual schedules and military service? Or was it a deeper form of nonverbal communication, something only visible to those who were truly paying attention? The second photo only deepened the mystery. Taken in the studio of The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon alongside host Jimmy Fallon, the atmosphere seemed warm and filled with laughter. The 7 members stood arm in arm, smiling brightly, flashing peace signs, a perfect image of unbreakable friendship. And yet, once again, public attention gravitated toward the same detail: Jungkook positioned right beside Taehyung, as if it were a place that simply could not be replaced. Was it coincidence? This question echoed repeatedly across fan discussions. In a world filled with visual coincidences, there comes a point where patterns begin to feel like deliberate choices. And when that pattern involves 2 figures with a long and deeply rooted history like Jungkook and Taehyung, every small detail transforms into something worthy of endless analysis. What makes this situation even more compelling is the context behind the reunion itself. After a long period in which each member focused on individual activities, their return in a single frame carries immense emotional weight. This is not just a photo, it is a symbol of a long journey, of transformation, of challenges, and of relationships that have endured through it all. And precisely because of that, every gesture, every position, every glance feels far more significant. Some pop culture observers have even attempted to interpret this phenomenon from a more academic perspective. In theories of nonverbal communication, repeated physical proximity in public settings often reflects strong emotional bonds or a message that is being conveyed without words. In this case, was Jungkook unconsciously, or perhaps very consciously, sending a signal through his closeness to Taehyung? Going even further, more daring speculations have emerged. Some have begun to question whether this moment was actually directed toward a specific party, whether an individual, a group, or even the public at large, as a form of silent statement that could not be expressed openly. In an industry as tightly controlled as K-pop, where even the smallest gestures can carry strategic meaning, this idea does not seem entirely impossible. On the other hand, there are those who view it through a simpler, yet equally powerful emotional lens. For many longtime fans, seeing Jungkook and Taehyung standing side by side again like this is a reminder of their early days, a time when everything felt more genuine, more spontaneous, more honest. From this perspective, their closeness is not a hidden message, but a reflection of a bond that has never truly changed. But if that is the case, why does something feel different this time? Why do their expressions, gestures, and even the way they stand seem to carry an additional layer that is difficult to explain? Is this merely the result of a more observant and critical public perspective, or is there truly a new dynamic unfolding behind the scenes? What is certain, however, is that these two photos have achieved something rare. They have ignited a global conversation that goes beyond what is visible, reaching into what might be hidden beneath the surface. In a world where every piece of content competes for attention, creating this level of curiosity is no small feat, and perhaps that is where the true power of this moment lies. Not in what is explicitly shown, but in what keeps people questioning, searching, trying to understand. Was Jungkook truly staying close to Taehyung on purpose to convey something? Or is it simply the natural reflection of a bond so strong that it remains visible, even without intention? These questions may never have definitive answers, but perhaps that is exactly what makes them so compelling, because in the end, behind every photograph, there is always a story. And in this case, that story seems far deeper, more complex, and more emotional than what appears on the surface. A story about connection, about time, about change, and perhaps about something that is not yet ready to be fully revealed to the world. And as the conversation continues to ripple across global fan communities, the emotional weight behind these images only seems to grow heavier, more layered, and increasingly difficult to dismiss as mere coincidence. Because if this were simply about proximity, about two individuals standing next to each other in a crowded frame, then why does it feel so intentional? Why does it feel as though every inch of distance, or lack of it, has been carefully measured, almost as if it carries meaning beyond what the eye can immediately perceive? There is something undeniably compelling about the way Jungkook positions himself near Kim Taehyung, not just once, but repeatedly, across different settings, different moods, different contexts. In front of the towering structure of the Brooklyn Bridge, where the wind, the city noise, and the shifting light could easily disrupt any carefully planned pose, the closeness remains. In the controlled environment of a television studio, under bright lights and the watchful eyes of cameras during the Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, that same closeness persists. It doesn't fade. It doesn't shift. It stays, and perhaps that is what makes people uneasy, not in a negative sense, but in a way that stirs curiosity at a deeper level. Because consistency, in a world built on fleeting moments and ever-changing images, is rare. And when something remains consistent across different environments, it begins to feel deliberate. Could it be that Jungkook is holding on to something that words cannot express? A memory, perhaps, from a time when everything felt simpler, before the pressures of global fame, before the expectations, before the distance created by time and responsibility? Or is it something more immediate, more present, an unspoken reassurance, a silent way of saying, "I'm still here"? The way Taehyung responds, or perhaps the way he doesn't visibly react, adds another layer to the unfolding narrative. His posture remains relaxed, his expression calm, almost as if this closeness is something so familiar that it no longer requires acknowledgement. And yet, there are fleeting moments, barely captured within the stillness of a photograph, where his eyes seem to soften, where his presence subtly aligns with Jungkook's in a way that feels instinctive rather than planned. This silent exchange, if it can even be called that, has become the center of countless interpretations. Some see it as a reaffirmation of a bond that has endured every test thrown at it: time, distance, individual growth, and the ever-watchful gaze of millions. Others wonder if there is tension beneath the surface, not in the sense of conflict, but in the sense of something unresolved, something that is yet to find its voice. And then there is the question that lingers, refusing to fade no matter how many explanations are offered. If this is intentional, then who is it for? In an industry like K-pop, where every detail can be amplified, dissected, and transformed into narrative, the idea that such a visible pattern could exist without purpose feels almost improbable. Artists are aware of the cameras. They are aware of the audience. They are aware that even the smallest gesture can be interpreted in countless ways. So if Jungkook continues to place himself beside Taehyung again and again, what is he choosing to say without speaking? Some speculate that it could be directed toward fans, a reassurance that despite everything that has changed, certain things remain the same. That the connection people fell in love with years ago has not disappeared, has not been replaced, has not been forgotten. In this interpretation, The closeness becomes a gift, a quiet promise wrapped in something as simple as physical proximity, but others are not so certain. There are whispers, soft, cautious, but persistent, that suggest the message might not be meant for the public at all. That perhaps it is directed inward, toward someone within their own circle, or even toward each other. A way of communicating something that cannot be said openly, something that must exist between the lines, between the frames, between the captured seconds that make up these images. And yet, despite all the speculation, all the theories, all the attempts to decode what may or may not be hidden within these moments, there is a truth that remains undeniable. Whatever this is, it resonates. It reaches people. It makes them feel something: curiosity, nostalgia, warmth, confusion, even a quiet sense of longing for answers that may never fully come. Because perhaps the most powerful aspect of this entire situation is not the possibility of a hidden message, but the emotional response it evokes. The way a single glance, a slight lean, a consistent choice of position can spark conversations that stretch across continents, languages, and perspectives. And in that sense, whether intentional or not, whether planned or purely instinctive, Jungkook's closeness to Taehyung has already accomplished something extraordinary. It has reminded people that even in a world saturated with noise, with constant updates and endless content, there are still moments that can make us pause. Moments that make us look closer. Moments that make us wonder,